Commander Vex of the Galactic Concordat stood at the viewport of his flagship, watching the blue-green planet rotate slowly below Earth, home to a species that, according to preliminary scans, possessed no natural defenses, no claws, no armor, no venomous glands, merely soft, fragile bodies, perfect for harvesting. Final assessment? He asked his science officer. Officer Trill's scales rippled with confidence. Humans appear to be a Type 1 species, Commander. Intelligent enough for basic technology, but physically inferior. Our warriors will face minimal resistance. Vex flicked his tail in satisfaction. The Concordat had conquered 17 systems in the past cycle. Earth would be the 18th, its resources stripped, its inhabitants processed for labor, the usual procedure. Begin the standard intimidation protocol, Vex ordered. Land in their most populous city. Display our weapons. Demand surrender. Lisa Miller was halfway through her morning jog when the sky darkened. Not with clouds, but with something far more massive, a ship nearly a mile long, hovering above the Manhattan skyline. She stopped, breath fogging in the winter air, and watched as smaller craft descended from the behemoth. Around her, other New Yorkers paused too, phones raised to capture the moment humanity confirmed it wasn't alone. There was surprisingly little panic, just a subdued collective intake of breath. "That's not ours, is it?" asked an older man beside her. Lisa shook her head. "Unless NASA's been hiding one hell of a budget increase." The smaller ships landed in Central Park. Within minutes, news helicopters circled the area, broadcasting live as tall, reptilian figures emerged. They were impressive, 9 feet of muscle and scale, with powerful tails and mouths filled with serrated teeth. Then the aliens spoke, their words translated by devices they carried. "Humans of Earth, you now belong to the Galactic Concordat. Your resources are forfeit. Your people will serve. Resistance ace." The alien never finished the sentence. A police officer, operating on instinct rather than protocol, fired a single shot when one of the aliens pointed a weapon-like device at the gathered crowd. The bullet penetrated the alien's scales with surprising ease. Green blood spilled onto Earth's soil. "Impossible," Vex roared, watching the feed from the landing party. "Their primitive projectiles shouldn't penetrate our thermal layers." Officer Trill was frantically recalibrating instruments. "It appears we miscalculated. Human weapons rely on kinetic force rather than energy dispersion. Our scales evolved to deflect energy-based attacks from rival species, not metal propelled at high velocity." The situation deteriorated rapidly. War shots were fired. More Concordat warriors fell. Those who managed to fire their weapons discovered another problem. The humans didn't stay in place like proper prey. They scattered, took cover, or turned fire from protected positions. "They're using tactics," Trill said, his voice hollow with disbelief. "Cooperative hunting strategies." Vex felt cold dread crawl up his spine, but they're herbivores. They must be. No fangs, no claws. "No, Commander," Trill whispered. "We were wrong. They're not herbivores. They're omnivores with a carnivorous ancestry. These aren't defenseless grazers. They're pursuit predators." Captain James Reed of the U.S. Army Rangers watched the satellite feed with his team. The alien forces had retreated from Central Park after losing 7 of their number, but more landing craft were descending on major cities worldwide. "They're strong, but they're not bulletproof," he told his assembled squad. "And they're making classic invasion mistakes. Landing in open areas. No secured perimeter. No air support." A sergeant raised her hand. "Rules of engagement, sir." Reed's expression was grim. "Given the declared hostile intent and attempted use of weapons in civilian areas, we are authorized to engage. These things came looking for easy prey. Let's show them they landed at the top of the wrong food chain." Over the next 48 hours, a pattern emerged across the globe. The aliens possessed energy weapons that could devastate at range, but they were slow to aim and fire. Their ships were advanced, but had clearly never been designed for defensive warfare against ground forces. Their tactics suggested experienced fighting species that surrendered immediately to superior technology. Humans did not surrender. From Moscow to Beijing, London to Johannesburg, military and civilian resistance emerged with stunning speed and coordination. Guided missiles struck landing craft. Special forces teams infiltrated captured buildings. Civilian hackers disrupted alien communications. The aliens had technology. Humans had adaptability. We must withdraw, Shrill urged, his scales pale with fear. The species, they're unlike any we've encountered. Vex couldn't process what was happening. Half his ground forces eliminated. 3 landing craft shot down. The humans were targeting their propulsion systems with unerring accuracy, using their own planet's terrain as cover. These creatures evolved on a deep world, Trill continued. Constant competition, multiple apex predators. They don't have natural weapons because they invented artificial ones. They don't have natural armor because they developed tactical thinking instead. Vex watched another landing craft explode on the view screen. Send the withdrawal signal. All forces to return immediately. As the survivors scrambled back aboard, Vex composed an emergency transmission to Concord at High Command. The message was brief but would change galactic policy forever. Earth classification, extreme danger, species, apex predator. Recommendation, quarantine system. To not approach. Lisa Miller stood with Captain Reed at the edge of Central Park 3 days later, watching as teams in hazmat suits examined the alien bodies and technology. They thought we'd be easy, Reed said, shaking his head. That's the thing about humans. We look soft, but we spend our entire evolutionary history outthinking, outrunning, and outlasting things bigger and stronger than us. Lisa nodded, watching as the enormous mothership vanished into the distance, fleeing Earth at tremendous speed. You know what's ironic, she said. If they'd just come in peace, we would have welcomed them. Reed smiled grimly. Let's hope they spread the word. Humans aren't prey. We never were. In deep space, the Concordate fleet accelerated to maximum speed, carrying a warning to the rest of the galaxy. The predator species on the 3rd planet had awoken to the stars, and the universe had become a much more dangerous place.